Alton Towers will be opening a first of its kind Gangsta Granny The Ride attraction in May. So the book was actually first released 10 years ago this year. That is a 10-year anniversary. So when you first wrote it, did you ever imagine it would become a ride at the UK's biggest theme park?
I certainly was not thinking that. It's not because I didn't want it, I just didn't ever believe that was possible, that it would ever happen to something that I'd created. But obviously I'm super excited that it is. Gangsta Granny has been a stage show, it's been on television, and now a ride. I mean, it's incredible. That book really set me on my path to become a successful children's author. It was the fourth book that I'd written, but it was the book that really took off. And every day someone mentions it to me, or there might be something in a paper about a granny that's done something naughty and they call her a gangster granny. So it's certainly caught on, and it's certainly not going away. And I couldn't be happier that Alton Towers have made it into a ride. I'm so excited about it.
It's definitely a timeless book. It's very legendary, very nostalgic for a lot of us in our childhood. Where did your inspiration for the story come from? Was your own granny a bit of a rebel?
Well, when I was a kid, I used to be sent off to stay with my granny, and she'd want to watch the snooker or on the television, or play Scrabble, and we'd have cabbage soup, and it, would sometimes be a bit boring. And then one day I started asking her about her younger life, about her adventures during World War II. So she was a young woman at that time, and she had all these incredible adventures because she lived in London during the Blitz when Nazi bombs were raining down on the city. And she was hiding in the underground station, and the next door neighbour's house got blown up, and at the end of her street this bus was blown up. I mean, all kinds of incredible stories. And it got me thinking that every older person has a story to tell. You just need to ask them. So later in life, when I was thinking about writing another children's book, I was thinking about my granny, and I was thinking, yes, old people have secrets. Old people have adventures that when you're a grandchild, you just don't know about until you ask. So that was the starting point. So my granny wasn't actually a gangster. She didn't actually steal any priceless jewels, but she'd had a really exciting life. And it wasn't until I asked her about it that I got to find out about it. So if anyone's watching, lucky enough to have grannies and granddads, make sure you ask them all about their lives, because I bet they have done so much more in their lives than you can ever believe.
I mean, that's beautiful. It's kind of like an ode to your granny to kind of share stories and to always ask questions, because you never know what you might learn from that. And when I read your books, particularly Gangsta Granny, I always imagine myself on a big adventure like Ben and Granny's. What would you say has been your biggest life adventure so far?
A biggest adventure in my life, I'd say, is becoming a father. Because I am very lucky to have a son who's nearly 8, and we have a fantastic time together. And as soon as you become a parent, that's the whole focus of your life, and you wish you'd done it sooner. Because I'm actually 72 years old. I know I don't look it, but I've had a lot of work done. And so yeah, I say that's the biggest thing in life. Just bringing a little person into the world and loving them lots, and having whole new adventures with them. And in fact, I was walking my son to school the other day, and we were talking about ideas for books and things, because he's always giving me ideas. He wasn't born when Gangsta Granny was written, but he's always coming up with titles and things. So it's a wonderful thing being a dad, and that's the biggest adventure I've ever had. Even though I've had lots of kind of cool adventures, like swimming the Channel or the Thames, and going to lots of remote places and everything. There's nothing beats being a father.
How do your ideas for your stories usually start, and do you have any advice for an inspiring writer on how to get started?
Okay, so I think about ideas as seeds, and from those seeds you can grow a story like a tree. So the ideas can come from anywhere. Sometimes they just pop into your head and you don't know where they've come from, but sometimes it might be a story someone tells you. They're not necessarily giving you an idea for you to write a book. They're just telling you something that happened in their lives. Or you watch TV and you see something. Or maybe you're just sitting on the bus and you hear two people talking and the conversation is intriguing and you think, oh wow, maybe that could be the starting point for a story. So stories can come from absolutely anywhere. But I think it's important to remember that you're only going to get a little seed. You're never going to get the whole story. So you're just going to get the starting point. So for me, with Gangsta Granny, it was just, what if this particular granny had incredible adventures in her life and she was actually an international jewel thief? What about that? So that was just the starting point. I didn't know what would happen in the story. I didn't know they would end up at the Tower of London, all of that. I didn't know any of that would happen. I just had that initial idea. So any budding authors out there, I would say keep your eyes and ears open, because you never know when a good idea might come along. And talking to people really helps. So for example, if someone comes into my house, a plumber or something, I will often ask them, I say, what's the funniest thing that's ever happened to you in your job? And often they've got a great story. Little do they know, my mind is whirring, thinking, oh, can I turn this into a comedy sketch, or can I turn this into a story or something? But being intrigued by the world, I think, is an important thing. And obviously, if you're really serious about writing books, you should read as many as you possibly can too, to see what everyone else has done, and that will inspire you in your own way and make you realize, oh wow, I've got to try hard because there's all these great stories out there.
To be as observant and imaginative as possible. I love that. Now, I must ask, are you a fan of cabbage soup?
I don't think I've had cabbage soup since I was a child and forced to eat it. See, the wonderful thing about becoming a grown-up is you no longer have to eat what grown-ups tell you to eat. For example, I haven't had broccoli for a very long time. I was told it's good for you. I don't care. I don't like it. I'm not ever having it again in my life. But cabbage soup, no, I'm not a fan of. I don't think I've had it since I stayed at my granny's when I was a kid.
How hungry are you feeling this morning? Because I've sent you a special delivery.
Of cabbage soup?
Maybe.
Oh, and you want me to eat some cabbage soup to see what it's like?
Will you try it for us, David?
I'll try it. I can't promise I'll keep it down, but I will try it. Wow, thank you so much, Vanessa. The cabbage soup is coming in now. Oh my goodness. It's cold. You should have sent it first class. You sent it second class. Next time,
at least it's still
if you're
got
sending
there.
me a bowl of soup, please send first class. I think if it was warmed up, it'd actually be quite nice. Yeah. So I might microwave that later and have it for my lunch, or I might pour it down the sink. Who knows?
Who knows? Or down the toilet. You never know. There's limited possibilities. So I'm curious to know, are all the characters that are in your stories based off of real people that you've met or real people in your life?
Some are inspired by people that I've met. There's a character called Bert in Ratburger who's the villain. And I actually played him in the TV version. He's got these dark glasses and this voice like that. And we actually had a man come on the stage at Britain's Got Talent auditioning. And we said, what's your name? He went, Cockroach Ken. And we said, oh, what's your talent? He went, I'm going to eat live cockroaches. And he got out this brown paper bag, and one by one he started eating these live cockroaches. And he was buzzed off very quickly, but it got me thinking. I thought, oh, a man who eats live cockroaches, what else might he do? Might he turn rats into burgers? Might he have a van which he sells those burgers from? So sometimes, yes, I meet someone in real life that gives me an idea. Raj, for example, who's in Gangsta Granny, was based on my real newsagent where I used to live in London, and he had a shop and it was called Raj's News, and it was very, very messy, and he was very jolly, And I thought, oh, well, I'd like to base a character on him. So I did. It was in the first book, The Boy in the Dress, and then also carried on through my books, and he's in Gangsta Granny too. So yes, sometimes you're lucky. You meet someone who you think is interesting, who's got a story of some kind, and you think, oh, I'd love to put them in a book. And sometimes you just create the characters out of your head. But it's certainly great when you meet someone who is a really big character and you think, wow, yes, I can put you straight in a book.
I mean, it's a great idea, and I think anybody would be happy to kind of have a character based on them in one of your books. Seems like a dream come true. So let's talk about Gangsta Granny, the ride. I am so excited to experience the world of Ben and Granny in real life. For those tuning in, Gangsta Granny, the ride is Alton Towers Resort's brand new experience, which hopes to open on the 17th of May. On the ride, we'll join Ben and Granny on the heist of a lifetime as they attempt to steal the crown jewels. David, have you been to Alton Towers before, and are you a fan of roller coasters?
Yes, I have been to Alton Towers before. I went when I was a child, and I enjoyed it very much because Alton Towers was really the first of its kind. There was nothing like that in the UK when I was a kid. So this was a good 35 years ago. And so it was very, very exciting to go, even though I didn't live very near it, but it was very, very exciting to go. And I loved it. And I do actually like roller coasters because roller coasters don't make me feel ill. When I go to fairgrounds and I'm spun round a lot, I always feel sick. But when I go to theme parks, I don't feel sick. And roller coasters I really like. But the only thing about roller coasters is you really want to sit at the front, don't you? You always want to sit at the front, and you can't always sit at the front. So that's annoying. But sitting in the front for some reason is magic, isn't it? Or the back. I mean, it's fun wherever you're sitting, but I'm one of those people who always wants to sit at the front. So hopefully now I've got a ride at Alton Towers, they will let me sit at the front of the roller coaster whenever I want. That's what I'm hoping.
Get the ultimate experience. I totally agree with you on that one. I feel like when you go to a theme park, you're always going to try and be in front of the line, so you can get the first option of seats, and then you sit right in the front, and you just feel like you are controlling the roller coaster in a way. It's a completely different
you've won.
experience.
You've won at life when you're at the front of that roller coaster.
For sure. It's a very much a big achievement in itself. Which part of the story are you most excited to see brought to life as an attraction?
Well, I think that the bit that people will really remember of the story is when Ben and Granny try and steal the crown jewels, which happens towards the end of the book. It's really the big kind of finale of the book in a way. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing that part of the ride because it's the most exciting bit of the book, and also it's going to be the most thrilling part of the ride. So I'm really, really excited about that. And that's really what the whole idea of the ride is. You go on this adventure with Ben and Granny, so you get to experience it with them. So I'm so excited for people to go on this, and I can't wait to take my son on it too.
I mean, I can't wait for everybody to see what it's going to be like. It's just a very big kind of, I don't know, what's the word for it?
It's an extravaganza. No, it's very, very exciting, and as an author, it's amazing, and you almost feel like a magician or something because you go, wow, all this sort of at some point came out of my head in some way. I mean, obviously, brilliant people have brought this to life and made it all happen, and incredibly talented designers and everything. But at the same point, there was no Gangsta Granny till I wrote the story. So it's a very, very exciting thing for me.
And for the first time ever, Raj's shop is going to be a real shop. So what is the first thing you'll buy in it?
Well, the thing I love most of all, and something that I've been really missing actually, because obviously lots of things have been closed, like cinemas and things, is I love pick and mix. I absolutely love pick and mix because you end up buying about 10 times as many sweets as you would normally ever eat in one sitting. And sometimes you bring it home and you can make it last for weeks as well. So pick and mix I'm very excited about. We're going to have lots of Raj's crazy special offers and lots of things that you can only buy in Raj's shop at Alton Towers that you can't buy anywhere else in the world. So I was really excited when Alton Towers said, yeah, you're going to have this Gangsta Granny ride, but when people come out, they're actually going to go to Raj's shop and they can buy sweets and all kinds of memorabilia from the ride and everything. I was really thrilled about that. So I think it's going to be a really fun place to visit.
Limited edition candies. You can only get them at Raj's shop. Very exclusive. I love that so much. Do you have any advice for someone who's scared of roller coasters?
I think if you're scared of roller coasters, like my mum's actually a bit scared of roller coasters, she doesn't like them, is go on with someone you know is sensible and is grown up, or someone who's going to take care of you and hold your hand just in case it's a bit scary. But remember, you know, roller coaster rides, they don't go on forever, do they? It's a few minutes normally, and afterwards you'll feel really, really happy and excited. So don't worry too much about it. But if it's really not your thing and you absolutely hate them, I'd say don't go on them, because no point doing something that you're not going to enjoy. There's plenty of other fun things at Alton Towers you can do if you don't want to ride the roller coasters.
And if it's your first time, don't go in the beginning or the front of the roller coaster.
Yeah, go in the middle of the roller coaster. I think that's a good idea, because then you can see what's coming up and you're not at the back. So you might, just be in the middle of everybody, and then I think you'll feel safer.
As your roller coaster experience evolves, then you can start moving to the front so that you can get the best experience. But we're now going to have some questions from some of your biggest fans across the UK.
Fantastic.
How long does it take for the builders to make the ride? Is it 5 years, 10 years, or 100 years?
Well, luckily it's not 100 years, because I'm not sure I'm going to be around in 100 years to see it. Well, I've been working for about 3 years with the team at Alton Towers, who are fantastically talented people at bringing this to life. So I'd say it's probably about three years is how long it's taken. So quite a long time, but they obviously want it to be absolutely perfect, and also if it's perfect, then it's going to be there for might be there for 100 years if they get it right. So so yes, about 3 years. So quite a long time, longer than it took to write the book.
If you could be one of your characters in real life, who would it be and why?
So if I could be any of my characters from my books, I would probably be Billionaire Boy, because Billionaire Boy has a water slide going from his bedroom down to the swimming pool. So every day when he wakes up, he can slide down a water slide. Now, to me, water slides are like the most fun in the world. So if I had my own water slide, if I sell enough books, maybe one day I will, but if I had my own water slide, I would be incredibly happy every day. What a way to start the day, sliding down a water slide. Bring it on.
If you could pick one person to go on an adventure with, who would you pick and why?
If I could go on an adventure with anyone, I think it would be my son, because he's always up for an adventure. And if we were doing something like whitewater rafting, or we were seeing the pyramids in Egypt or something like that, I don't know, or swimming through caves or something like that, I'd like to be doing it with him, because he's up for adventure. I think my mum, I love being with my mum, but she's not so much up for adventure. She would be second choice, but she would be very reluctant to do any adventurous things. So, so after we've had our adventure, we'd go and have a nice cup of tea and a cake with my mum.
Hi, David Walliams. What are you most looking forward to for the Gangsta Granny ride?
I'm so excited about the ride. There's so much detail everywhere in it. And one of the things that the team at Alton Towers have added in is a special little entrance for my dogs, my Border Terriers, Bert and Ernie. And so it will be exciting to see if anyone is really eagle-eyed and can spot the little door for Bert and Ernie.
So now David is going to spoil us by reading a chapter of Gangsta Granny just for us.
That's right. I'm going to read from Gangsta Granny, and I'm going to read it out loud in case you were thinking, a bit boring just to watch him read a book. So this is the part of the story where Ben has discovered this biscuit tin in Granny's kitchen, which has all these priceless jewels in it. He's confronted Granny about it and asked her where she got them from, and she's laid them out on the living room carpet and told him how she stole each one. But at that moment, they notice that someone is spying on them. Ben's eyes darted towards the window. For a brief moment, he saw a dark figure peer through the dirty glass, then quickly disappear out of view. There was a man peering in at the window, said Ben breathlessly. I know, said Granny. I told you not to look. Shall I go out and see who it was? Said Ben, trying to hide the fact that he was more than a little frightened. Really, he wanted Granny to go out and see who it was. Well, I bet it was my nosy neighbour, Mr. Parker. He's a retired major, and now he runs the neighbourhood watch scheme in Grey Coast. What's neighbourhood watch? Asked Ben. Oh, it's a group of local people who keep an eye out for burglars. But Mr. Parker just uses it as an excuse to spy on everyone, the nosy old git. I often come back from the supermarket with me bag of cabbages and see he's hiding behind his net curtains, spying on me with a pair of binoculars. Is he suspicious about you? Oh, he's suspicious about everyone. We have to keep an eye out for him, young lad. The man is a menace. Ben went over to the window and peered out. He couldn't see anyone. Bring! Ben's heart nearly missed a beat. It was only the doorbell, but if they let Mr. Parker inside, he would see all the evidence the police would need to send Ben and his granny straight to prison. Don't answer it, said Ben, as he ran to the middle of the room and started stuffing all the jewels back in the tin as quickly as he could. What do you mean, don't answer it? He knows I'm at home. He just saw us through the window. You answer the door and I will hide the jewels. Me? Yes, you. Hurry! Bring! This ring was more insistent. Mr. Parker had left his finger on the buzzer for even longer. Ben took a deep breath and walked calmly through the hall to the front door. He opened it. Yes, said Ben in his squeaky high voice. Can I help you? Mr. Parker put his foot inside the bungalow so the front door couldn't be closed on him. Who are you? He barked nasally. He had a very big nose, which made him seem even nosier than he was, and he already seemed extremely nosy. Because he had a big nose, he also had a very nasal voice, which made everything he said, however serious, seem a little bit absurd. But his eyes shone red like a demon. I'm Granny's friend, spluttered Ben. Why did I say that, he thought. In truth, he was in a terrible panic, and his tongue was running away with him. Friend, snarled Mr. Parker, pushing open the front door. He was stronger than Ben and soon forced his way inside. I mean, grandson, Mr. Parker, sir, said Ben, retreating back towards the living room. Why are you lying to me? He said, taking several paces forward as Ben took several paces back. It was as if they were dancing the tango. I'm not lying, cried Ben. They reached the living room door. You can't go in there, yelled Ben, thinking of the jewels still scattered all over the carpet. Why not? Because Granny is doing her naked yoga. Ben needed a dramatic excuse to stop Mr. Parker barging through the door and seeing the jewels, but sadly, the nosy neighbour was not convinced. Naked yoga, a likely story. I need to talk to your grandmother right away. Now get out of my way, you nasty little worm of a boy, he said, as he shoved the boy aside and opened the living room door. Granny must have heard Ben through the door, because when Mr. Parker burst into the room, she was standing in her bra and knickers in tree pose. Mr. Parker, do you mind? Said Granny in mock horror that he had seen her in a state of undress.
That was amazing. Thank you so much. If you want to immerse yourself in the world of Ben and Granny, you can on Gangsta Granny the Ride at Alton Towers from the 17th of May. Final question from me. David, if you had to audition for Britain's Got Talent, what would your talent be?
My talent would be annoying Simon Cowell. That's what I do. I do so many things just to annoy him. He doesn't like loud noises, doesn't like people being too close to him, doesn't like people sort of in his personal space. And I think I do some kind of act that was designed just to make his life a misery. That would be my act.
And on that brilliant note, that's all from us. Thank you so much for joining us today, everyone. Have an amazing rest of your weekend. And don't forget to check out Gangsta Granny the Ride at Alton Towers from the 17th of May.